All right, we'll start the regular meeting at 7 o'clock. Amendments to the agenda. You took forever. Just joking. Any amendments needed to the agenda, Joe?
Oh, can I add a recognition of Linda Barker? Can we add that right up front?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Mm-hmm. Do you need a motion for that?
Anything else?
I don't know.
Sure, motion to add that to the agenda.
Sure. I'll make a motion to add a recognition to up front in the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by Glenn, seconded by Jeff to amend the agenda to add recognition for Linda Barker from the town manager to the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of minutes, January 11th. Motion for that?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 11th as written.
Second.
Motion by Glenn to approve the January 11th minutes, seconded by Jeff. Corrections or changes needed?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 14th as written.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Jeff to approve the January 14th minutes. Changes or corrections? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. And I'll turn it over to Joe now.
Okay, so, Deborah, I'm glad you're here. The town of Fairhaven is a member of the Main Street America program, as some folks may know. And once a year, Main Street America, in conjunction with Civic Plus, they ask all the towns and cities in their program, send us your best volunteers, send us your best and brightest, so we can recognize them. Back in, I think it was November, I submitted Linda Barker's name as just a shining example of volunteerism here in Fairhaven. But not only in Fairhaven, but in the entire country. So if you don't know, besides the dog park that Linda was spearheading, she also takes her dog to the hospital. She goes to Castleton Community Center, visits with some of the elderly who are there. She goes to the school. She volunteered so much time to raise money and make sure that dog park got done. So in recognition, Linda Barker was honored as a top 100 national award winner by Main Street America and Civic Plus. So congratulations.
I thought it was going to be bad news.
Oh, no, it's pretty good news. Good job.
You're really.
Okay, thank you for humoring me.
Well, thank you and congratulations.
Yeah.
5 minutes for public comment. Sorry.
I feel like you guys have been, everybody's been on you tonight about budget and things. But today I found out that you did not put the park fence in the budget. And I think that's very short-sighted of you. Our park is the most beautiful in the state. It's what people see when they come into town. And that fence, it should have been done 2 years ago. And I think you really got to think about the beauty of our town to draw people in. And I know that roads are important. I know all that other stuff is important. But we got to get people here. And if they come into this town and see our park needs repair and really doesn't look nice, I just was really upset over it, and I just want to bring that to your attention. And I will say, there's a couple groups that we're going to try to raise the money to do it.
And part of the conversation was the ARPA money that we have available. I mean, I don't think
it's dead.
anybody on the board doesn't support painting it, but I think it's a matter of how we fund it.
It's what bucket we paint it.
And there is money available in ARPA, and the board has discussed using that to do the fence painting. So there is funding there. It's just Joe knows the process more than we do on ARPA funding, but there is money available for it.
I think we got to remember the historic value of the town. We lost the red house,
Yeah,
but the park is just so important to this town.
yeah, I would agree.
So, yeah, if we can help to raise the money, fine. If we can get some, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But I did talk with Jim Brooker, this afternoon. He's gonna schedule us in, so it's gotta happen one way or the other. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yep, John?
Park rails, park fence rails are pressure treated lumber. They cannot be painted with oil-based paint. It's gotta be water-based paint.
I'm sure Jim wrote.
But somebody like Jim knows
No, we
that.
have an individual that wanna do with oil-based paint. That's why I bring this up.
Okay,
Nope, I didn't even see anybody behind.
yep, that's on.
Can't see
This is Rick.
This is Richard, I just can't see it behind.
Oh, yeah,
There you are, sorry.
I've got a statement I want to read. I'm going to remove my mask only because it makes it hard. I have a hearing disability and it's hard to hear with it and speak. So I have a statement that I prepared, but also I have copies for the board which I'll give you after. I'm here tonight to ask about the town's plan to address the lack of high-speed internet and reliable phone service. I ask the town has developed a telecommunications plan to support individuals, businesses, and education in our town. Lack of adequate services in this area affects businesses, our schools, and even first responders' service to our community. Currently, the town is operating with a substandard power grid. If you talk to Green Mountain Power, we are not up to standard to be able to expand our system. With spotty phone and internet service in our business district and at our schools, as well as in town in general, I would ask if the substandard grid that is maintained by Green Mountain Power is the issue. If so, how can this be addressed by our select board? Officials and our town officials and government representatives, pressure be brought to GMC to upgrade our system. Additional concerns is the major commerce centers in town do not have access to better services. Limiting how small business can expand and function. For example, the ability to access on-demand ordering, connection to suppliers and consumers. This limits how current businesses can function, but also affects our ability to attract new businesses or look to future sustainability of our town. This is necessary for future growth. An example is Walgreens having difficulty with their internet that affects their supply and demand and ability to fill prescriptions. Even the upgrades for consolidated communication that was done in 2021, we lack adequate internet and phone service. This affects how our elderly, disabled, or those with transportation issues can access online telehealth programs that may help them with better health outcomes and support. Access to programs like FirstNet for first responders allows our rescue services to access backup, connect with others, and provide emergency medical services to our town. For our children, it affects their ability to learn. Without everyone being able to access online learning, we risk not providing adequate education services for all the children in our town. Access to broadband can usually be based on socioeconomic levels, but in our town, even money can't buy you good internet. In fact, it's hard to get a phone signal even in our downtown. I did telehealth from home for the beginning part of the pandemic, and it was really, I have the fastest internet because I paid for it, that I could get from, from our communications programs in the town. And I still struggle to be able to do that. It certainly affected my bottom line. Currently, the state has a plan called the Vermont Telecommunications Plan. I emailed a copy of it to our town manager today. It is 200 pages, guys, so I didn't give you all the copy. I apologize for that.
Do you have enough paper?
And in the state of Vermont, outlines this plan for expanding and supporting these programs in the state and in its rural areas. It provides support for lifeline communications, relay services, and E911 support. But more importantly, it provides a fund called the Connectivity Fund that state allocates at least $6 million a year. Currently, there's excess funding that's available through some of the federal funding of COVID monies that we could also access. Broadband for our broadband system. Currently on state maps showing coverage for these services, Fairhaven is comparable with hard-to-serve areas in most of our rural parts of the state, like the Northeast Kingdom. Better services are located in the Interstate 89 corridor, but also in areas with more active representation like Chittenden County. I ask why. I ask what is the town doing to access these revenue sources to improve our access to broadband, therefore supporting better health, business, and educational access for everybody in our community. As the town looked to funding, for example, with EC Fiber, currently operating in Vermont, to see about broadband and expansion. How to do this is clearly outlined in the Vermont State Telecommunications Plan. Is the issue tower placement? And can we investigate that as well? Other options for funding are FSS, Connect America funding, Vermont Innovations grants for small business, and again, the Vermont Connectivity Fund that I mentioned previously. As the town applied for a certificate of public good to help improve the essential infrastructures, this too is outlined in the state plan. Currently, the state plan is looking to expand coverage to all Vermonters by 2024. Now's the time. Now's the time for Fairhaven to look into accessing what we can to get what we need to support services that is necessary to our town as our utilities are. I also ask that all of you connected to serving our town, from the board to the town manager and elected representatives at our state governing boards, look beyond the nuts and bolts needed to keep our town running. But understand how important increased access to an upgrade modern telecommunications system is to our town and our ability to promote a more successful and vibrant community. This would help attract new homeowners and businesses. It would improve our education system and business growth, thus improving our revenue in the long run with increased taxes and increased home values. I ask you all to do what you can to participate in the telecommunications plan and make good access to broadband service an essential part of the services that we provide our community. There you go, guys.
Thank you.
And I had to actually ask how many were on the select board, and my son, husband called. I'm like, I don't listen to you.
Those are 5 of these.
Here you go. I think part of it is not being short-sighted. I think sometimes we get stuck in the nuts and bolts, and we don't think about tomorrow. I know as a homeowner who pays pretty good taxes, that I too am concerned about the bottom line, but I think what we can do is be too short-sighted. For example, not funding the park is an example of not looking at what our assets are and not funding them adequately. I think not looking into telecommunications can be part of that as well. Okay? Thank you.
I was wondering what,
This won't be the first time that Joe reaches out to consolidate it.
I'm sending this to Bill and to our representatives
Mr.
as
Howell
well.
as well. Good.
So,
And I mean, part of the problem is we've got, I would say, decent coverage in the downtown area. Decent. I mean, it works. You get up into Jeff and Rod's area,
I can't do it.
or down, or Carol's.
I don't get services in downtown. I have.
Well, I know that you're down for like.
No, I
I'm
don't
talking
get it
about
in the center of
Cell
town.
phone.
Yeah, I'm talking about internet service. Cell phone service is horrible throughout town. It doesn't matter where you are. I would agree with that.
And it's random. It
Correct.
changes by the day.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yep. John?
I was interested in telling you people what I saw on television the other night. There was a town over in western New York State having a trouble with volunteers for their rescue squad. Almost to the point that it was non-existent. The senior class
I saw
in
that
this
too.
town had
Yep.
about 22 students that took the emergency medical technician course and passed. They are now running that ambulance service. So why are we being told here in Vermont that you have to have a college education to become an EMT to work on an ambulance and run it?
I don't know, I didn't make that rule.
And we were told that right here in this room.
I mean, I remember Ray telling me again and again and again how many hours he spent riding that ambulance as a second body or a, so it should be that if they need somebody, they can put them in.
Why can't we do it here in Vermont?
I can answer that. I work in, and the part of the problem is Vermont has one of the strictest guidelines for health service workers. And I think that's a positive. I know that my license in the state of Vermont as a mental health counselor will work anywhere in the nation. Like very rarely, if I were to ask for reciprocity from another state, would I have to get additional education? That's rare. That's also really good.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that Vermont you're talking about is there's a difference between a first responder, which is somebody who, like a high school person who goes through a first aid class can do and respond, and somebody that manages an ambulance. And when I was involved in the ambulance, there were certain guidelines that are affected by the select board, but there's state regulations that we have that are set by the Department of Health that have nothing to do with you guys. And so you guys have to work within those guidelines.
Well, these people are just kids in
It's
high school
frustrating.
class. And they're running the whole ambulance.
I would put,
Good stuff.
I'm sure they're not doing it by themselves, but I think they're probably supervised by some professional staff.
Probably.
They are running it. It's not
Yeah.
television, they are responsible.
All right, public, yeah.
Hi, I wanted to talk to you guys about, snow management in town. I'm sorry to bring it up, like, I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but, like, I know a few meetings back, at the end of the meeting, you got into a discussion about the way the sidewalks were being cleared, and I believe, Glenn, you're the other one who brought up the little view pile that they're using to clear the sidewalks, and that it's too big and it's been tearing up people's lawns. And anyway, with that first snowstorm at that time, I don't know if any of you know where I live, but our house is on a corner and it's completely surrounded by a picket fence. And the Carnarvon side, the DPW guys who were clearing the sidewalk, this has been going on for a few years, that they would clear the snow, but end up piling it like really heavily against the fence, and they're knocking the fence is bowing, and it was not like that. Like the fence that's on the other side where they're not clearing the sidewalk is still in perfectly good shape. It's just that part that they keep piling the snow against. So a couple of years ago, I spoke to the guy, like I could see, oh, it's the same guy who's going by, and I asked him, hey, we will clear the sidewalk. We were very, very diligent about getting out there as soon as the snow fell, get it nice and shoveled, keep it nice and clean. We put down salt, and we had a good understanding. And then, so this year, again, somebody, probably a new guy, did the same thing. And so my husband went down and spoke to Joe about it. Like I saw that you guys have been talking about it, but there, I know you discussed it, but there wasn't really any direction to hey, we really need to do something about this problem. So anyway, my husband came down to speak to Joe and said, hey, is there anything you can do? Can you say something to the guys to just please don't, we'll take care of the sidewalk in front of our house. And so Joe said, well, they answer to Aaron, so we called DPW, there's numbers you can call and no one answered, but we left messages saying, hey, we're at this address, could you please not pile snow against our fence, you're breaking it. And
It's hard to hear you guys with you talking behind us.
so anyway, we got no response and no change. And the other day, or actually it was yesterday, so right at the corner, there's a telephone pole and our fence. The guy tried to go through and it wouldn't fit that way, so he went around and came around and tried to go through the other way and got stuck between the pole and the fence, and he completely smashed up the corner of our fence. So the whole row, the fence, you should see it, it's all wavy, and completely smashed. And so, Aaron came to the door and said, hey, we're sorry we broke the fence. And Joe sent me an email saying that, Aaron had gone and spoken to my husband. I was at work. He said that we should, Aaron had said, get a quote and the town will pay for it. And then I saw the email said, send us the paid invoice after you get it repaired. We do not have the money to do that. It's, and I don't feel when we said something 3 weeks ago, hey, there's a problem here, they're busting our fence, that we should have to pay for it up front and then be reimbursed. So anyway, I just feel like that little plow you know, I could, you know, I saw it getting, you know, people's lawns getting torn up, and now our fence, it's just, you know, it's ridiculous to be spending people's taxes on fixing our fence. I often wonder what's the plan for the snow clearance on the sidewalk? I know, I'm sure it's a tough job, but the new equipment really doesn't seem appropriate, or the way they're using it just doesn't seem quite right. So I don't know if they need like more training or something, but like Joe said, there's nothing he can do about it, and
So
you know, you guys talked
we
about it.
dug-
So what can
We
be
dug
done?
into it a little deeper when we went down. We took a field trip to Public Works a
Okay.
couple meetings ago,
Okay.
and that was one of the things we talked about when we were down there. And one of the problems is that the skid steer is
Too wide.
a width, and whatever width it is, that's the width that the plow is.
Right.
We can't narrow it up anymore, or
So
they're not going to plow the width of it. So we either need to find a different mechanism to plow the sidewalks, and it's
Right.
going to take a little time to figure that out.
Right, but like, I don't know.
And
'cause I'm-
usually,
Yeah,
it's not mud season in December.
yeah.
I mean, so we got to cut them a little slack on that first storm, I think. I mean, maybe I've heard some talk that maybe we should have stopped when we saw.
That was probably-
Yeah.
That was me.
But-
That was me.
But
Yeah.
still, they were trying to clear the sidewalks, and it was mush.
Yeah,
But we are trying to
those
think of other alternatives.
but I
Those
guess.
tight spaces too, like there's
I don't
on
know what to-
Carnarvon and North Main Street, there's telephone poles like smacked in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
We've gotta be careful about how we're going around those and cleaning them up.
Yeah, but,
Not
what
forcing our way
happened to
through.
the little piece of equipment that had the small snow blower on it? Like,
They still
They have the
that.
snow
We
blower
still
still.
have the snowball.
so I've heard many people in town say, why aren't they using the little snow blower? That thing was awesome. You just go down the sidewalk, blow the snow onto
Especially-
the curb, make a snowbank. That's what everybody does in those
Especially in
towns.
the small storms, they can do that. But they said in the heavy, wet snow, it just won't blow it.
All right, well, and I've seen, did they get a really big snow blower that, like, so I saw
I don't know.
several roads where they're blowing the snow directly, like, into the middle of people's lawns. And that's,
They're
like, there's a
probably
big gray stripe of salty snow,
see it,
and
yeah.
like.
They're probably trying to get it away from the side. I'm
Right. No, I'm
spitballing
sure
here,
they
but
are.
No, I don't think we should make excuses for it, really. It's not okay.
well, it's,
It's people's personal property. Sometimes, yes, accidents will happen, but
I mean,
when you
lots
know
of-
something
but-
doesn't
I don't think
work,
we're making any excuse on the fence. I think Joe's making a plan, right? To
Well, I don't really like that plan, that we pay for it up front and get reimbursed.
Are you following the mailbox policy, basically?
That's exactly it. Typically that's what we do. If there's damage, send us the bill and we'll reimburse you.
I would think if you
Right, I
came
think-
in and talked about circumstances, there would be a way through that.
All right.
We don't have a fence policy. The
I
closest
don't
thing
think
we had was.
Necessarily
Okay.
needs to come here. I think Joe could.
Yeah, we don't have it.
All right.
So,
Because, you know, that.
But if you get an estimate and bring it to Joe and talk it.
Talk
what
through
you're-
it a little
talk
bit,
through
and I'm sure he'll take care of that.
Sure. And I mean, it would be like anything else. So if the guys, I don't know, smash the taillight out, we wouldn't go out and fix the taillight. We'd say, okay, get it fixed and we'll pay you back for it, kind of thing. But yeah, let me know.
I'm
But
just
if
gonna
it,
leave you guys, let you go with what I wrote, but, you could look into that.
Mhm.
Let me know, I think it's essential for the town of Burke Road. I think it's also necessary for our town. And, it's just one of those things we're gonna have to do. And I think currently, right now, there's a lot of funding that's out there. You know, I looked into it, it wasn't that hard to try to find some resources, and I think there's a lot of good ones in the plan that you guys could look at as well. I think it's now or never, okay?
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Definitely.
Okay,
Just to
I'm
follow up,
Scotty.
I think.
Thank you, really.
Congratulations.
It was nice not getting a bad news.
Thank
So I
you.
appreciate
Good job.
it.
Thank you for all your effort.
I'm working on that good news, bad news thing that we talked about.
I
Yeah.
like this direction.
Deb, just to follow
I'm
up,
doing
I think
better
there
on that.
are other pieces of equipment that the town
Right.
should be talking about.
Yeah, I really feel like there needs to be something done, because, like, with this salt.
I wasn't
salty snow
trying to say that there was no solution.
No, but like with the salty snow even being blown onto people's lawns, like the first year I lived here, they were blowing snow onto the closest part of my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And like the whole
Thing
front
died,
third of the lawn died.
And it's way out of the right of way. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
have the right of way to put snow on
Yeah,
that
so,
far onto people's properties and stuff.
yeah,
I
so
agree.
there ought to be a better plan, or I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to mention it to you.
I think they're
I'm
trying,
glad you're thinking
trying,
about
I
it.
agree.
trying to
And,
clear the sidewalk.
anyway, have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Okay.
Thanks.
Department head reports?
What side direction?
Oh, jeez.
I think the spring is gonna identify a ton of damage around town.
I think so.
Are they,
I agree.
are they allowed to, I know this isn't use a shovel around a particularly tight area like she's talking about that they couldn't get through? Couldn't they get out and shovel
over,
that
shovel
and
it.
then do it? I get it, but seriously, why force something, doesn't, fit through a, Joe's smiling under his mask.
No, I was.
He's up there.
Said John
I
had
am,
the.
I'm smiling.
It's like the cowboys of yesteryear.
Yeah.
Well,
They never got off their horse.
It's gotta
but sometimes
be-
you have to do,
If they were fitting through there every other time though,
That was an
it's
accident.
gotta be an accident or an operator thing. Right?
So this is one of those, and we are, to Deborah's point, we are trying to find better ways to do this. It's not like we're just in a bubble. But it's more of a, you're in trouble if you do and in trouble if you don't, so we're trying to find that fine line. The plow pushes the snow up against the fence, but we don't want that. We want you to use a snow blower, but the snow blower puts it too far on our lawn, so it's just like,
I heard that.
Yeah, but-
it's tough. We don't know where to.
I get it. I mean, in our property, we had a horse stanchion from the 1800s plowed over and broken. You can't replace that. You can't fix that. And it was just not being careful. It's been there since the 1800s, so I think there's a lot of things that maybe with a little more care. I know we want things cleaned up. We're pretty clear about that, but maybe with a little more care and forethought, we could not have these problems.
I agree. Quality is just as important as quantity, and that's a conversation we've had several times. We have.
I will go back to, I don't think the tool is correct.
Might be part of it.
We bought too big a machine for the work that needed to be done and too big a plow, and now we're trying to force fit and make it work, quite frankly, and that's,
It's not gonna work.
if it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work.
Agreed.
It's tough. I agree. I think it's a little too big, but it's tough because our sidewalks are either ginormous or they're real narrow in certain spots. So there really wasn't a one size fit all. But I think you're right. I think it might be just a little bit too big. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Department head report. Looks like Joe has all of them.
Pitching it there, but. To start with the voter's guide, this was not in your packets. But I was gonna send it up to Staples to get it printed and delivered, so, I'll do that tomorrow morning if nobody has any, I just didn't wanna do it without letting the board know.
And that voter's guide has the two changes we talked about
But is
that going
home?
in it.
Yes, I'm gonna mail this to, I'm gonna mail it to,
Joe, and that has the two changes from last meeting.
it does.
Then we're good.
Okay, we'll start off with the police. We had 3 arrests in the last couple weeks. Driver's license suspended, and 2 for leaving the scene of an accident. The police chief continues to push our interests up to the state about this dispatching scheme. They had a kind of a unified dispatch. Now the state, in all their wisdom, is now they wish to break that apart and make regional dispatch again. The governor has $11 million in his funding to prop up these centers. But the $11 million has to pass the legislature yet. That's what I got for the chief.
Question for the police department.
Nice and quiet.
DPW?
Yep. Oh, So, starting with DPW, they've been kind of chipping away at these small snow events. Those end up taking more, just as much, if not more, resources than those big events. But they're getting at it and staying at it.
Where are we at with salt usage? In line with what we should?
Last meeting, we talked about it. He was in line with it, but I'll get the number and email it out to them.
Well, I mean, I saw that there was a number there, but I don't remember the conversation as far as, how are we, I mean, are we halfway through, or are we 3/4 through?
Yeah, I don't have that with me, right, but I can get it. I'll let them know.
Where are we in the season? Where should we be?
Right now, we should be at about 57% spent down. Salt's a little different because it's seasonal, so maybe a little bit less or more,
Okay,
depending. Yeah.
So what you just said was kind of not answering Jeff's question.
Right.
Where are we in relation to the winter, the
Yeah.
average winter?
I'd have to.
No, just date. Just based on date, should we be halfway?
I mean, winter can go all the way through May, so yeah, we're about a third to halfway.
On average.
all right.
I mean,
Done, I don't know.
figure April 1st.
I was just gonna look at the salt
Oh.
that we purchased so far and see how we were looking in that budget. That's all.
I understand that we can get snow
Don't worry about it.
in April,
Hmm.
and we can get a lot of snow. But it's
You got it.
the pavement steaming
Yeah.
the next day, so you don't need quite as much
Read
salt.
it. Problem.
I can pull the usage. I'll have Aaron give it to us. We can.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got some average season numbers.
Yeah, he keeps track of all salt and sand use.
Do they know like truckloads used for storm, stuff like that? Or do
He
they
keeps
just
good-
know what they bought?
He keeps good records. Even the dialer is tuned in, so I'll ask and get it to you.
Percent. Yeah, so lower on track, I would think.
Well, it depends on how much is stockpiled.
Yeah, but
Is the
that's
stock-
what's,
Yeah, but is the stockpile good, or is it on the low side,
yep,
Okay.
40% is still less than 50, so.
Yeah.
DPW's
Few more
been
loads
helping the water department. The last couple weeks have been pretty cold. They helped thaw out at least one frozen line going to a home. And I think we had upwards of 5 meters freeze over the last 2 weeks. So they've been helping out there. Water department's been putting the meters in as he goes, and helping homeowners make sure that they know that they do have to stay, above 32.
Are these houses occupied? They're not snowbirds?
Couple homes, couple trailers, mobile home units.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's not just unique to one or the other.
have they been advised as far as running the water to keep the meters?
I would assume so, but I can make sure. I don't know what the conversation was in the house. Wastewater, their rehab project is coming along. They moved into their control building last Friday, so that's great news. They're happy to be home in their permanent location. Still some work that needs to be done in there, but they were anxious to get out of that trailer. I think that's all they had. It's mostly winter stuff and
Question at the weather, I was looking at the standard worksheet, we had the DPW, and basically February is snow removal and patch any road patches right there. Is there some opportunity for them to cut some brush on either Bolger Road and Green Road, where, we have a couple roads that if we get a chance and there isn't a snowstorm, may be able to take that opportunity to cut some brush.
There's not enough snow on the side of the roads to stop brush cutting
We might get a chance
yet.
to do some, that's all.
sure. Let me ping them.
It's probably on their radar, just see what their schedule is.
Okay, other questions for DPW? Okay, town manager, please.
All right, town manager, we talked about the cold weather. Oh, weirdly enough, so this is for the board, but it's also for folks at home. The water department has seen an uptick in about 20,000 gallons of water extra being used on the south side from the south tank.
How many?
20,000 gallons. About. The DPW is, they did their search just driving around looking for that water flowing out of the road or flowing out of somebody's basement window. Never could find anything. So if anybody sees something funny like big ice patches somewhere, or I don't know, your neighbor has a flood coming out of their basement, please let us know, because we want to find where this water's going.
So do they reconcile meter usage with a flow out of the tank? They know that it's 20,000 unmetered water or not?
They know how much they're putting in, and they know on average how much they use. So when they crank up the plant, they know how much should be going in, and they know how much usually is there in the tanks. So they can subtract the difference, the average, and understand the difference.
Okay.
So
So that
what
means
Jeff was-
unmetered water, right?
Yes.
No, they don't know. They
They
have no
don't
idea.
know.
They have no idea. So is it possible to get a consolidation of the meter readings?
Yes.
And,
Well, just
And-
for them to do it.
well, I'm not looking for us to do that.
No, yeah, see, we did have the guys run and check the meters.
Couldn't it just be that everybody's letting water trickle on a cold day?
It's a lot of water, that's what we thought, but it's so
Doesn't-
much that we weren't sure.
I don't think it takes much if there's 40 people doing it to do 20.
So the trailer park is using more water. They use a lot of water because of the leak, but it seems to be more. But we don't think it's enough to account for that much.
We reached out to them that there's still a leak and that, okay, they know, they're prepared that there's, okay. Potentially a bill.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. Now we're talking about wastewater. Oh, the elementary school, we, I don't know if we talked about it or not, we started the Pet Mayor program up again this year to, yeah, this is my favorite thing, this and Fairhaven Fridays. It's nice to be able to do something, not paperwork. So we started distributing those sheets again, looking for folks to submit their pets. We reached out to the Student Voice, which is a small group at the grade school. They're kind of community oriented. One year they said they wanted more garbage cans at the playground, so we went and got them more garbage cans at the playground. This year they said they would like to see a hiking trail and maybe some workout equipment somewhere in the where they can use it out back behind the school. So we were proposing to use any donations from the Pet Mayor program to start a fund to do trails and some equipment.
Not to be a negative on that, but be careful of the wetlands. You can't make trails in wetlands without permitting, so.
Yep. Yeah.
And also, it wouldn't, when we've talked about the other concerns around people on the playground, it wouldn't be in direct sight of people that watch it. Right? Because it'd be in wooded areas potentially with, so I feel like that would be a concern with the principal, based on other things that she's raised.
We'll talk to the principal and
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, it's something that.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to combine both if you talk to them about a wellness type of, it's out in the open, not in the woods,
Mhm.
and you do the practice, the steps, and you do little stations, but you can
Yeah.
see it.
Mhm.
That might be a
Better
A good
idea.
alternative.
Yeah.
alternative for them. But
Instead of sneaky trails behind the school, the
Trails, yeah,
elementary
that's-
school. Yeah.
Seems like
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
Alright.
there'd be some problems
Yeah,
going
girls
to
at
the
the
trolley
hospital
barn.
like that.
Oh.
Bad things happen.
We did end up having the tax sale on Monday. Total fees owed for that property were $2,403 and change. We sold it for $2,300. So we got all of our tax money back. We had to eat some advertising, but yeah, it's.
What's that again? It's a trailer.
The trailer that we didn't own the land.
Yeah. So
It worked out. It will work out.
was it the tenant?
It was a ton.
That makes sense.
Oh, that does make sense.
Voter's guide, we talked about that very quickly, and I'm still working, I know the board asked for those Gantt sheets, I am still developing those and sending them out. They are a little wonky, but I'll get better at using that program. And I think that,
That's what wonky looks like.
You sent us a email on a sidewalk grant too, that was like 44 pages long. The timeline.
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay,
The
all right.
Gantt sheet.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was start to finish
Okay.
timeline.
It was 44 pages long.
Yeah.
Thought about printing it in.
44 years.
All right, any questions for
It
Joe?
looked pretty close.
All right, old business policy review, last for.
So we're back to policy review. I did get a suggestion for, and you don't have the updated copies, but I did get a suggestion for edits. On page 1, I added,
Up to class 4?
Class 4 highway. I did add a change on, although I don't have the new edits either. I did add a definition of what a pent road was. So that way it's defined as a road that you can bar.
Okay, I didn't get the Pent Road.
Pent road, somewhere in here. And then on page 2, let me see, page 2, number 5, I added an F, and added reclassified as a language that said reclassified as a trail. So that way the board understands that you can reclass also to a trail, not only a pent road.
And my only question would be on page 2, up in the middle, where we're talking about B, under B, and we're talking about supervision after you do, to make sure you're in conformance when you're doing some repairs to a class 4 road. It says supervision by the road commissioner or highway foreperson, and it seems to stop mid-sentence. I'm wondering, it's road commissioner and instead of highway foreperson, it's the Aaron Kerber position. It's the, I'm not sure, the more I look at it, I'm not sure that the foreman it would be the road commissioner, and the next one in that step would be our highway superintendent. I think superintendent is what, and in the end, I think I just would lose the, it looked like it was gonna say something else, and I just take the and off.
It's road commissioner's Joe, right? And then
Joe's
superintendent.
the road commissioner, and Aaron would be the superintendent, and if we're gonna say it's Joe and Nate, I'm going, well, wait a minute. That's, I just try to put names into those.
Highway
And it
superintendent.
didn't- yeah, I'm
You're doing
doing-
an and/or.
Well, and I was gonna do an and/or highway superintendent instead of foreperson.
And delete the last.
And lose the semicolon and the and.
Mhm.
And then I think we're good.
The only comment I had was if the class 4 is an unmaintained road and the landowner wants to do some work and he checks with the superintendent, the idea of the surety bond and damage deposit seems a little excessive, since you haven't maintained the road at all anyway in this scenario. It seems like a lot to ask that if someone's gonna help
Improve it.
improve it, that you also want all of that other stuff. I wasn't sure how you, word it differently and still protect the town. I mean, I don't,
Yeah, and on that same line, when I read the maintenance and right away for class 4 highways, it almost read like everything goes on the, in a butter, or where we, the town, are part of the abutter. We're part of that too, and I'm going, it's a class 4 road. My initial reaction was, I'm saying, well, wait a minute. If we see a need to fill the, our taxpayers are saying, I get my truck buried every time I drive up the class 4 road in the mud hole, that, don't we have some responsibility? I didn't get any responsibility for the town, and it just seemed like, especially if we're in a butter ourselves, wouldn't we all? It just seems very heavy to, if you live on a class 4 road, you're responsible for fixing it. I go, well, wait a minute, we had a class 4 road where the beavers did some damage, we went up by, and we the town fixed it. This policy, I was trying to say, I always try to.
you like past practice, so.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, my experience of, when Castleton and having a class 4 road, that Pontley was taken care of on our land, it was once a year, unless they had very bad financial times and they couldn't, they'd go and grade and fill the holes and everything, and that seems like the right thing because they're getting taxes for land, and so it just looks, it's one of the few, I don't have a recommendation yet of what that wording would say, but the wording just seems so heavy to,
Do you have any
it's
thoughts?
someone else's problem, not our problem as a town. I'm saying, I don't think so. I think we own a piece of that somewhere.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Joe?
I don't know, does it?
I do. So to Jeff, to your concern about needing a surety bond, that's tough.
Security.
Yeah.
Surety, that's what it says.
A surety?
It says may attach any or all, so it's not like, I'm gonna go put in some, under B, it says you may attach any or all of the following conditions, so it's, I don't think, and I'm gonna speak
Okay.
from common sense, if you wanna fill a pothole, I don't think anybody would be like, get me a $10,000 bond. That's just for my, if somebody was to come and ask me as the road commissioner, I wouldn't do that. But I guess there's a potential. And in terms of maintenance, from my experience in town, we are required to maintain the roads up to a certain degree of passability. I know we have somebody that's just outside the water plant, and that young lady has called me on occasion and said, look, these potholes, there's a mud hole and a pothole right here. Can you do something? And we do, because we are responsible to make sure that you, a reasonable effort to keep it passable, so, and that's state rule, yeah.
Required by necessity and the public good.
Okay, maintenance by the town, summer and winter.
Except to the extent required by necessity, a pothole, mud hole is necessary to fix that.
Good, as long as we, because when I got reading that, it got looking like, oh my God, we're getting really, that we.
No one, I'm gonna pick on Lynn, but, no one can say, no, you can't get your Jeep through there, we're not gonna plow it, that's clear, right? But, if you can't in the summer get through because the beavers built up the road, the water higher than the road, then we will deal with that problem.
Yes. If it's one of those drastic, I mean, if it's a pothole every now
You
and
shall
then,
not pass.
yeah, like, we're not gonna tell poor Lynn, and no, we're not doing it, obviously,
Okay,
yeah.
alright, I just, you know,
Okay.
and if Lynn wants to have Browns come in and dump some loads of gravel in those holes,
Let us know.
just let you know. Okay. And I'm picking on Lynn, she didn't say anything.
No,
Nothing to do with
it's
it.
something that's just good using.
It's an example, yeah.
It's a good example, because that property is way out.
Uh-huh.
That's the most beautiful
And
spot in all of Fairhaven.
we tend to forget about her out there.
Well, I've been up there.
I don't, I see her at the mailbox, but.
Okay, other questions for?
No.
Okay. Joe, are you gonna bring that back, or how do you want?
Sure.
I'll make those final edits and I'll bring it back to the next meeting for signature if everybody is happy with this.
Yep.
Yep. That's good.
Policy review for capital improvement.
Capital improvement.
Okay, yes, this one is a little bit more tricky. This is actually the Fairhaven Capital Program. We just printed it out and looked for suggestions.
I'll jump in first, if you don't mind. I was looking for some, I hear 5-year plan when we start talking capital plans, and I'm trying to find, something where there'd be some reference to a capital plan being a 5-year plan.
Yes.
And I didn't, and so I'm looking where about, oh, Select-Board will adopt a 5-year CIP, okay? Look down, very good, I missed it. And again, it was more from a standpoint that it's this one, and maybe it says that, but the reason we don't have one is we don't have any teeth in the words that are there, because, and maybe that's the point I'm getting to, because it seems like we change, whether it's us, the board, or a new piece of equipment, because I think there's some co-ownership to changes, but it seems like the capital plan changes pretty regular. And with me, if you're gonna live to page 2 and where you're trying to get the priority of how you wanna do things, you need to have a capital plan, and you need to live to that capital plan and only change it every 5 years, not every year. Now, I don't know if that's, I can show you how I can, just, the other thing I saw on this plan, when I looked at this, the project financing being grants, a priority of 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going, wait a minute, if funding by financing is number 4, and it looked like my DPW plan is we're using it right up there as above reserves. We're not looking for funding from financing. It looks like the capital plan's built on financing. So I'm going, this, if I buy into this way, the way it's written, wouldn't be following my policy right from day one. That could be why we're here looking at it, by the way, also.
We're making improvements.
I used to manage a planning department for a major telecom field or company, and we had the responsibility of doing a 5-year plan, and it was absolutely nailed down for 1 year. And technological advancements in today's world absolutely required us to reevaluate years 2 through 5. You know, it took more convincing to make changes to year 2 than it took to make changes to year 3, 4, and 5. But it's pretty presumptuous to think that you can absolutely plan with no changes for 5 years out.
I'm used to the same process, working that way, and it's kind of like, to me, it's like a 5-year best guess plan, but the 1 year is nailed down, like you said. And then start again with year 2.
Right.
And add another column on at the end of that, but it's very hard to have a definite 5-year plan. But it's good to have a rolling plan, so you're not surprised 3 years from now, like,
Right.
where did that come from?
So I believe that the plan it kind of like healthcare, signing up for healthcare. You can only make changes to the plan for the current year
Yeah,
in a particular time of the year. Live with it for that year,
yeah.
okay? And it's only allowed to make changes. Well, I say only allowed. It really has to be an emergency
Yeah,
to make a change outside of that. It's just unrealistic to think that, no changes can be possibly made. But it should be, your goal is you only make change at this time of the year.
well,
Whatever
Joe,
the time of the year
I
is.
bet Joe's thinking, but wait, you've been harping on a 5-year plan. I can read your, but
Still a
that,
plan, though.
it is a
It's still a
plan,
plan.
it is a plan, that's,
It's
yeah.
still a plan. It
It's a
allows you to
1-year plan,
budget,
5-year wish list.
but it allows you to
Yeah.
get into the budget cycle.
Right.
So we're not sitting on a Friday evening at 7 o'clock trying to buy a truck.
Right.
Yeah.
$200,000
A
truck.
$200,000 truck. That should,
Yeah.
that should be in that locked-in 1-year plan.
Right.
Right, and it should be each year. I mean, again, I'm just trying to think of what in the past, because multiple times, I find myself surprised with a request for something that and they're not all emergencies that just got happened.
No, you're absolutely right.
And that's the thing I wanna hopefully have a policy
Put in the
that
words.
fix. So,
If everything is an emergency, then you have to redefine what an
what an
emergency is.
emergency is.
Well, the other thing, this is getting more complicated, but priority criteria, they aren't all created equal. So when you're looking at that, I have always used, and I liked it, as a scoring criteria. So for instance, if it's required by state or federal law, that carries a lot of weight. It's pretty much gonna happen. If it's, state or federal grant funds are available to assist in funding the project, that's nice, but to me, that's not gonna create priority. I don't know if you wanna get that complicated with it, but they're not all the same.
So,
It makes it more objective if you put a certain weight to each of the, if these are the 7 criteria, then you can score out each category and see what comes to the top that way.
yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, because I was looking that if this is the order of importance, I don't agree with the order of importance that's here. That's all, but I'm saying, if you're using some kind of scale, it's still gonna say it's the order of importance if you're weighting it.
Well, think about the truck as an example and read through these and how it would score. Probably not very high. Maybe number 7.
Yeah.
Maybe number 4.
And I bet it hasn't even reached number 7.
Mhm. Yeah, so, but it's a good way to put things in perspective and measure fairly.
Should I make a scoring criteria off of, do like these 7? Or do you want to use this as a scoring criteria? And
Is there a rubric that goes with it?
that's what I was thinking, I could put a rubric to
Mhm.
it.
Right.
And there's different ways to assign the scoring, so we could do it as a group and all come to an agreement, or we could each have, 100 points, and individuals can spend their 100 points however they want on the things that are presented. And for the things that fall toward the bottom, then you can have a discussion, or you can also put in a cutoff line, like this is absolutely it, but these are the things that if something changes, I don't know, you get some ARPA funds that are appropriate, then you can go to the next thing in the list, even though it wasn't approved, it's below the line, but you already know what's next coming.
So Joe, when you get your project plan and you get more comfortable with, is it Microsoft Project you're using?
Yes.
Would you, every project in there has a score?
I don't know. I'm not that advanced.
No, I know, but would you get to that point if you came up with a rubric for each project, each asset, each truck or whatever.
For
you just
scoring,
score them, so then you have a ranked list of.
sure, something like that, I'd probably use Excel.
And then once a year, it's reevaluated. It's not something that you have to put a ton of time into every
Then your
week.
highest ranked ones come to the
Yeah,
beginning of the plan.
And let's face it, the board changes every year, potentially changes every year. The whole prioritization changes.
Well, that's the difficult part.
Yeah, it's difficult for you.
Well, I think it's very difficult for the guys at Public Works, because they're trying to have an expectation.
Right, and I was looking for a policy that says, even, shouldn't matter with the changeover of the board.
What it is.
What the plan is the plan.
At least,
The
It
next
shouldn't
board
matter
can
that
change
you have
it.
a new, that you, and then when a new
Well,
board comes in, they give you a new plan.
at least the next year should be somewhat set,
Should be set for.
and it gives a
within reason,
place for the new board
and yes.
to start from, to know what the current board was thinking about, which could be beneficial till they get going.
Yeah,
And once we normalize it, the boards will come on and just like, that's what we do. You know, you don't,
Right.
we gotta get through a couple of years though, so that way it's a normal thing.
I'd be willing to help you with it, not now, not till I'm done working, but hopefully that will be in the next 2, 3, 4 months. If you want some help, I would be willing to help you with it.
Does, well, I don't know.
does there need to be a funding component with this?
No, I just do
so.
have.
You know, I think funds need to be allocated with the plan, so that if you've locked in your year, you've locked in your funding source.
They should go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You're gonna know.
You should know how you're gonna.
So
pay
if,
for it.
Yeah.
so if this board is committing for next year and saying, this is how we wanna do this plan, this is where we're getting the funding.
Mm-hmm.
And that works if you rank the projects or assets you need to buy, because
Yeah.
you can slide, you got 100,000, you can slide the top.
But you don't always know. I mean, if you're going for grants, you don't always know.
Yeah, I
You-
don't think you're gonna see a ton of grants in public works equipment though. And I know
Well,
this
you-
is
you're-
capital,
You're
so
gonna
it's
see,
everything, but.
potentially, you're gonna see, the financing change,
Mhm.
okay? And how much money we have to come up with versus,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So it's, as long as it's a soft decision and can fluctuate a little bit, it's still, when the trigger gets pulled at our level, you know, unless we're just flushed with, all kinds of capital,
Yeah, that's not happening.
yeah, maybe the LOT will just change the way we do things.
Yeah, the idea is to just get rid of that. The Friday night meeting, the expectation, to
Yes,
change the
that's right.
expectations.
No, you're right.
Well, you wanna make sound decisions, and this gives you that time to know what they are.
Joe, does that give you enough feedback on some areas to
Start with.
start?
I got a scoring criteria, and that's all I got out of that conversation. Then we want a funding mechanism as
Now you're
well.
gonna fund based on the scoring criteria, I think.
Or go back to status quo.
Yeah, because you do have a lot of competition for the reserve funds. I mean,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there's far more vehicles than we have reserve monies for.
Right, and the thing, and I'm not finding fault when I make a statement of, I get nervous when the reserve money the money hasn't even gotten a reserve fund, and we're talking about spending it.
Already.
Yeah.
To me, that's not good planning, the reserve fund, so.
And I didn't like the last Friday meeting where, well, we need money for this truck, but we'll get that truck to last another year so we can buy some time. Well, then why can't we do that with this truck? I mean, it was just the whole process felt to me like a
Pressured.
pressured,
Mhm.
but it was a form of well, so it was a surprise, the whole thing.
And the hope, when we're looking at this and the other policy we're gonna look at, the reserve one, is to say, I know it can be frustrating for our departments as well as for us. So let's get something that we're all familiar with, comfortable with, and we stop the surprises. Yeah.
Alright, so you'll work on that and bring some more drafts forward.
Yeah.
And people can throw.
I think this one might take a while, so probably not
It'd be
gonna
nice, it'd be nice if we could get it done before we adjourn as a board.
the next
Right,
meeting.
it'd be nice.
Well, yes, no, what I'm saying is if we don't get it next meeting, then the next one
Not gonna
is,
happen, yeah.
otherwise it's falling onto all new ears.
No, I know, yeah.
Wait, then you just rip it out.
Yeah, you might as well rip it up. Based
Well,
on,
joking.
So, use your judgment what you wanna do with it.
Yes.
I'll bring something up just based on the conversation and we'll,
Next one would be review of the reserve fund policy.
So this one I made a couple of edits to, based on input. The Muni building line was, minimum funding was increased to 150,000. Maximum was at 1.5 million. And then the other one, the town garage minimum funding was bumped up to 150,000. And I believe that was all for this one.
It bumped up to 150, it's $1.5 million.
This was bumped up to 100.
Oh,
And just something, when I was looking through that, and maybe it was just me, when I looked at the line item for municipal building, I usually think just the town hall. I'm not thinking town hall, fire
Municipal
station,
building.
police department.
Right.
The three buildings, so when you start looking at amounts, even though the amounts may be small that I put in there, I tried to make them realistic, because I said realistic numbers, I don't know how you'd ever, get there.
Yeah, 150 isn't gonna buy you.
And that's gonna be
It's a
difficult.
starting spot, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we know.
So the only thought that I had recently on this one is whether we should change it, the title a little bit, and also include like the emergency fund and the,
In here.
yeah,
all funds, yeah.
just
All-
fund policy or
Because the emergency fund, to
Is-
play on what
Yeah.
Jeff's saying, the emergency fund plays hand in hand with the discussion about what should the,
let's just call it funds policy, and let's deal with everything from the emergency fund to the, you know, we could even touch on the highway surplus and the, you know, what
fund balance.
fund balance.
Yeah, yeah, because
It would
we
be-
said we'll bring the fund balance down to 100, but because of the emergency reserves. But if that emergency reserves goes down, we gotta go up with the fund balance, or not, with the,
Right,
yeah,
so
fund balance, right.
I think I guess I see it as encompassing those
Yeah.
as well.
I can definitely add those. That's, yeah, I would agree. Would you be interested in adding the water sewer funds as well?
Those reserves.
Yes.
I-
But I'm wondering if that needs to be a slightly different document only because they're different funds. Is that the
Because you're
same?
thinking-
It's,
because you're
this isn't
thinking stuff
a
like
funding, well, it's,
It shouldn't matter.
no,
Yeah.
it shouldn't matter,
It shouldn't
for the
matter.
purpose of this.
It's the same board, it shouldn't matter.
So you want me to drop to the water funds as well?
Yeah, so there's water sewer, so there's 4 more to go from there. It just is a overarching guide. And again, maybe this can be, you know, played with once a year or something. But this one I don't anticipate it has to change that much.
No, this is just a guideline, I mean, if you're gonna fall somewhere between the minimum and the maximum.
Right. And for the first few years, we're not gonna meet the minimum probably.
We're
Well-
gonna have to work some of them for years to get.
But the minimum funding is not what we wanna put into it on a yearly basis.
Exactly.
It's just, you know, we shouldn't let it go down.
This is the
to
idea.
below that.
Once we get there, we shouldn't get below that amount.
But the reason because I brought this up years ago, and the reason that I brought it up is because it seemed like some of the funds were getting outrageously large. And, you know, I wasn't sure if, you know, should we be putting money into that when there's other funds that are more important? And it'd be great if we could max out all of these, but
Do you wanna go through the numbers quick, or are we good?
Oh, go ahead.
Did anybody have any specific change other than the two? Does reappraisal need to be that high? I guess that accounts for, you know, if you had to do two fairly quickly. But it's, we're talking 250 to 300 is what I'm assuming it's gonna be this time.
You actually have,
cost of labor
I
keeps
think
going up.
you met your goal.
Instead of 400,000, having the max be 250, which is
Three.
So that money is deposited, the state contributes a little bit to that, so you'd be trying to tell the state.
No.
I
Well, I
don't
wouldn't
want
tell
your
the
money.
state.
No.
Alright,
Keep your money.
400.
Well, wait a minute, this is for, the max funding is for
For-
us to put money in or not. put
Yeah,
money
we
in.
would take donations
take
above
donations.
beyond
Right.
any of these numbers.
Right.
So,
And that should be in the policy.
personal checks from Joe Gunter.
Right.
I was hoping you would say that, cause I'm right there.
So what are you recommending for the max for reappraisal?
Now that Joe said that, maybe 400, but I thought last time it was about 200,000, and I assume it's gonna go up.
That's the, I just saw an old sheet in there, it was 200. What was this one?
So let's leave it alone.
Probably double.
There's 188,000 in there right now.
Probably halfway there.
Alright, we'll leave it alone.
All right, other areas, Jeff? Don't you have any?
Nope, we already took it.
Where are we in grant match with the funds we're gonna put in?
I had to do some math.
Are we happy with 200? Everybody's happy with?
Are you asking me? Personally, I think that is a very good number.
Yeah.
Once we start getting up that high, it takes a lot to manage and produce those grants, so much higher, there's.
And it takes 3 to 5 years to
To see the result.
spend money.
Okay.
But the records restoration, did Suzanne have input to those numbers? Because if I recall,
I don't,
she basically said, we're kind of coming down to we're gonna do.
She did not have input on that, but in her defense, I didn't ask, so I can ask him.
Okay, but it just seems to me she was here and she said, because we asked her how the records restoration, and she said, well, we've gone back as far as we're gonna go. We're almost there, or something like that. So why would we be putting more money into?
well, that one's just, there's just a set amount per transaction, right?
Yeah, we get a little bit of, so that fee for, I think it's the recording fee, a little bit goes to that. And for your,
But once you're restored, you're gonna restore again? You're gonna restore the restored files?
no, but some of the, I hope not. So
Probably.
for our land records, she is scanning those in, and those, I'd be surprised she said that, but if she's coming down to it. Well, there's also maps and other documents, like the mobile home sales that can go in there. So it's not just your land records that we can scan in.
And I thought she meant they'd gotten to the point where it was starting to be useful, but they were gonna continue going. I don't know.
I mean, they said they were not gonna go back to the beginning of time, because those records just aren't really requested enough.
What's the balance in that? Is there 50,000 in that account? Is that?
In the reappraisal, I'm sorry, in the restoration. 40,598.
Yeah, so that's in the ballpark.
No.
Let's just leave it alone.
But I'm just wondering, why would we wanna go to 60? If the effort is
I think we're going to be.
kinda,
at the
but, you know,
Right,
I'm asking to get her input. more so than anything.
Let me ask her and see how much,
And then
see what she thinks.
emergency fund, where are people on that one? We might as well get these done while we're right here.
What's that now?
Isn't there? Is there 200 in it, right?
The emergency fund?
Yeah, what's that balance, Jeff?
358,527.
But you're asking what should be the min, what should be the max?
Yeah.
That's 10% of our,
Which been your experience of having to go buy something is 300 or 200,000, a good min, and
I think 2 to 4 would cover everything.
We don't really touch that.
We don't.
sits there.
Okay, it sits there in case there is a catastrophic failure, and we have to,
But I guess I would say like $200,000 minimum.
oh yeah, down there.
And
I don't really care so much about a max on that. How about that?
Yeah, well, if you're not talking about a max, I'd say about 350
Okay.
is a minimum.
Oh, okay.
You know,
350?
if you spend down below, it might take you 3-4 years to get back up. You don't have to do it all at once,
Mhm.
but you should get back up to that, the level that we're comfortable with today.
350,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
okay.
Because remember, we use that as a
Slot.
way to
It's cash
write
flow.
down the,
It's the way you cash flow like the $400,000 school payment or.
right, and,
And when we didn't get tax revenue because of COVID, we survived.
right.
Right.
But
We could cash flow
we've
that.
written down the fund balance because of that money sitting there.
That's right.
Okay, if you're gonna go down in that, you have to go up on the fund balance.
That's right.
Okay.
And then as far as fund balances, we were comfortable around 100,000, right?
That's what we're
That's
saying.
the
what the
general
last
fund.
discussion
That's what we
was.
were saying.
And were we 50 in the highway? What did we run that one down? Or was that
50.
100 as well?
No, I think it was 50.
I think it was 50.
Yeah, that's the discussion we had.
So do you want to just do minimums on those?
And not put a max, just put the minimum.
Yeah. Or do you want a max, Joe?
I was gonna say, that's where you found your $1 million.
Right, I
Yeah,
think
you
the
would probably
maxes
want
are,
to maximum.
are
Okay.
important.
Yeah, okay.
But
Then wouldn't,
if
you
you
wouldn't.
budget and expense properly,
You will
you
not.
should not be
see
getting to
that.
$1 million.
That, you're absolutely right, but
You-
we
you don't
did have
put
$1
it-
million problem
I just,
within our members.
So we need a max in there then.
I
I
mean-
guess I answered my question.
And I guess that question leads me to, there needs to be a line in here that Joe will provide the board a statement of where these are compared to the min and max, so that once a year, everybody looks at this.
so it doesn't, there isn't any surprise.
It doesn't fall through the cracks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then water sewer,
What was our max on the fund balances?
On emergency
$500,000.
reversion, do we just add another 100,000 and call it 450, 350, 450?
I was gonna suggest 500, but.
Yeah,
whatever.
500?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to use a round number. If we have more than 500, then more money should be put
Into the other-
aside to get
Somewhere
these to the
else, yeah.
minimums.
Yep.
You get that much money, we're taxing them, we're taxing people way too much.
Way-
That's a
way
lot of
more-
money.
Way more than it should be.
and you can, yeah.
Okay. Water and sewer,
uh,
what do you have there for idea?
250,
250 again?
250 to $1 million in the water, right? We're coming up on lines and potentially plant. And hopefully we're gonna get a lot of grant money, but
And 1 million?
We always think that, but we struggle.
So there's 241 in water capital improvements, 241,873.
So 250 to $1 million gets you
Gets
pretty
you.
close to that now.
And with sewer, with us doing the recent thing, those numbers can be,
A little bit
I
lower.
think you still, all
Yeah,
your
but you
sewer
have the
lines that haven't been
infrastructure
touched
they haven't
in
been
years.
fixed.
Yeah, sure.
I think the goal should be similar.
250 and $1 million, they're
Yeah.
both the same? to
Don't
start
you
with?
think? I mean,
To start with? Anyway, we can always
it's,
change them.
at this point in time, it's really the minimum number that
Yes.
is kind of the target that people are gonna be thinking about.
Okay. I
Thoughts?
think that's good. No, I think that's a good one.
You're good, Joe?
Yeah, I've never noticed this one, it says Watershed Road.
So if you do that one, I would think that would be like a $5,000 to $20,000 thing. It's not, it's just to maintain the access around the pond.
That's the road, that's the road around the pond, right?
And traditionally, that's funded by the logging revenues from the
Right.
land
Right.
around the watershed, if you need that background.
And technically, they make improvements to it when they do it.
Yeah, yep. The National Guard actually came in and for free finished it around the back, roughly. It could use a little work. We hiked around there the other day.
Did you? It's nice up there. And you also have a water sinking and a sewer sinking fund.
There's
Yeah,
well-defined funds.
yeah, so I have trouble which one is which.
The sinking fund is for debt.
Debt retirement?
Yes. When I first came on board, we actually went in and redefined these in the
So
ordinance.
explain to me when we would use that.
I guess if you were to rebuild your sewer plant, that might be a good spot for sinking fund, just as an example.
Is there any money in that sinking fund?
Yeah, yes, 20,000 in sewer. And then 19,000 in water.
Not a lot of,
Looks like we tapped that.
not a lot of that payment gonna happen with
So
that
let's run
money.
that, run both of those 50 to 250.
50, 250, yeah.
Wrong. That one's hard.
I've never seen it used.
We
We
don't remember.
discuss it from time to
Because
time.
you're probably gonna take a note to do it, unless you're gonna pay it through sinking. I don't really understand that.
Right,
I think that's one of those mechanisms that was used in the beginning,
yeah.
like 70s when they
Yeah,
established those funds. There was
It seems like you just take it out of capital improvement, because that's literally what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
So do we just take the sinking fund right
Get
now?
rid of it.
I don't know that we can, because it
You
was
gotta
voted
at
in
least-
by it was approved by the voters.
No, but I'm saying that not this time, it stays in now. Next time, maybe we ask them saying, hey, look, we don't.
Or you just
Do
use
you,
it.
do we apply the sinking fund for the water to water reserve? Do you take and move,
You'd have to do a little state research, Joe,
Yeah.
to
to
see
find out if you could do that
what you can and can't do.
with a sinking fund? 'Cause you may not be able to.
Wayne would just know the answer to that.
Yeah,
That's a Wayne question.
Okay, other questions on reserve funds for Joe?
No, I think we made good.
Might be worth reaching out to Wayne and asking some numbers on those.
See if we're close or
To
not.
see
Yeah.
if we're in
To
the
see
right
if we're
ballpark.
close and then we'll talk about it next meeting to approve.
Yeah.
Or not. so.
If you get it together, Joe, bring it back.
Yeah, I'll make these a priority.
And you're
because I think
talking
this-
Wayne Aldrich when you say.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, new business, road mileage certificate.
Motion to approve.
well, let's discuss for a moment. Oh, we got.
We're gonna discuss.
Yeah, we're gonna
I just wanna
discuss.
get that going.
I'll second your motion to
So-
approve for discussion.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Glenn.
Keep your
Approve
kids moving, that's all.
the road mileage certificate. And Rod has questions.
Well, Glenn and I were talking
yeah, we were
about this.
talking.
Okay, Glenn has
Oh,
questions.
no.
And this-
Glenn.
Rod is cool. Glenn's been asking for me.
Oh, this came out last meeting.
Yeah, this has been 26 or 27 miles forever. And now it's 36. And we looked at the only thing we can think of is the state highway, which we don't do anything on,
True.
is that difference.
Sure.
Okay, but it's never been on, maybe it's been on, but just been left off the consideration or the discussion. I can't say that I have really looked at the numbers. It's just, over the years when I've had to sign these, but, why would we be discussing or considering the state highway, which we don't maintain or take care for at all? Has it been on the forms before? Can you look up last year's or 2 years or 3 years ago?
I can't. If you want me to bring it back to the next meeting?
Does this have to be signed today?
I was just saying if you needed a,
I mean, they always set deadlines and,
before February 20th,
yeah,
22.
see?
Oh, okay.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah, we got, no, well, not plenty of time,
Well-
but we have a little
I
time.
think I remember it was on last year, but I don't, I think it just started.
They may have changed the form.
Who puts in the numbers?
The state does,
The
and they
state
did
does.
change this form.
They changed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Second
thought
time in 2
last
years.
year, last year was there because I was shocked to see 36.
I
said,
have a
"Wait
motion, we'll just table it if we have to. Well, I don't care.
I'll vote against it.
Sure, do it.
Um,
You don't vote.
You said it in the meeting too.
all right.
So it's state form, they supply the numbers?
Yeah, we don't make any, I mean, unless we make changes.
Unless
So
we-
it's not
part
like
two.
we made a mistake here.
No, there's no mistake.
No.
They send this to us and say, sign it, these are your roads, unless you have changes.
And the whole point that I think Rod is making is, no, when we say we have approximately 26 miles of road,
I would be lying.
I mean, every time I do the math, I
It's
come
very
up
clear where it is.
with, if you take the 10.5 miles of state highway out of 36.4,
You're 26.
you got 26 miles of road.
That we
is
maintain.
that we maintain is a
You're
actual
thinking,
statement.
you're
That's why
thinking
I-
when if you divide your highway budget, you're not gonna divide it by 36, you're gonna divide it by 26.
That's correct.
State highway's not,
I think
we're only
this,
doing 1 through 4.
I think this really just determines your aid, right?
Yes.
But we don't get any aid for state highways, do we?
No.
Because we don't maintain them.
Right, this is just a state document.
Okay.
Showing what we have.
I'm all for, I mean, I have no
We look
problem
for something
tabling my
today.
motion until the next meeting, but I don't really see.
Well, if this would, I understand what you're saying, that it's supplied, the numbers are supplied by the state.
I see
and-
this as a formality more than a.
Right,
Mhm.
okay, but it was just, it's just the number that was in my mind all these years has been 26, 27 miles. And it blew my mind that all of a sudden it's 36. I'm like, where did we add up the highways? But it is pretty much the state highway,
Yeah.
which we don't maintain.
So, do you want me to withdraw or
No,
just table?
As long as,
Okay.
as long as we're not, I'm not, in this case.
You're gonna vote no.
As long as I'm not misrepresenting
No, I get it.
the number, because that's a number that I've been using
Forever.
forever. Well, since about 2009.
Same here. I use that number, and if I'm wrong, okay, tell me.
Oh, I'm okay with signing it as long as we,
Okay.
Good number.
yeah, it's a good number.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Just Rod.
motion carried.
I had a question.
What?
It's those questions that get us.
That's a no. No?
Sorry. Couldn't.
Well, use blue pen, or
Oh, whatever. Then they know it's the original.
maybe use yellow. All right,
Do we camera this stuff?
MPM appointment letter.
Is that next?
Yeah.
It's on here twice.
Planning.
Oh, did I put it on there twice? I thought I missed it.
Oh, we're
Oh, great.
speeding, we're speeding right up.
There we are. Okay. So this is to appoint a municipal project manager to the sidewalks improvement grant that's downtown Fairhaven. Rutland Regional Planning wrote the grant, and they wrote their cost to manage the grant right into this. They would like to appoint Eric Hall from Rutland Regional to manage this program for us.
Okay.
Is this something we asked for, or is this something that is required by
The grant.
grant?
All state and federal grants require a municipal project manager.
Yeah, but would sometimes it be you?
All of them currently are me, Jim is one.
Okay.
But this is part.
This is one that their salary's being paid, they're
By
from
the
Rutland
grant.
Regional Planning Commission. Is this person working for them?
This person is working for them, yes.
Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and they're the ones who helped us get the grant, so that's why you've probably seen that one.
Typically, it's the person that writes the grant or the project owner. They wrote the grant
You will still have significant input,
Oh, yeah, no, it's, everything will still have to pass through me.
oversight.
It would be similar to, so we have a municipal project manager for wastewater, but all bills and change orders and anything come through my office. So there's our oversight as well.
Okay, but I remember the heated discussions regarding Mechanic Street sidewalk.
Right, that's one that came.
Okay, and I'm just wondering, is this taking us one step further? That, you know, that we're gonna have this
The
a
engineer,
three-finger pointing contest now, where it's the construction firm getting direction from this project manager, who didn't talk to us,
Mhm.
and how does that play in?
I don't care what you do, but make sure that slopes so
Right.
that the water runs off.
Does not go to the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Mechanic Street project, I think that was a problem with the firm, not necessarily the way it was organized. Once we pulled that one firm and that one gentleman off the project, it went much smoother.
Okay, but we were the project manager.
No, I thought we had.
We had an on-site inspector.
Yeah.
We know we were the project manager in that
You were the project?
example, yes.
But
Well,
and who
maybe
does this
this-
person report to? Is it to you, with a dotted line to the planning commission, or is it to the planning commission with a dotted line to you?
Oh, for this project, he reports to me.
You're the owner.
I'm the
You
owner, yeah,
represent
I'm the owner of the project.
Okay.
Well, not I.
That's an understanding,
Fair.
or is that in writing?
It's just what it is. I guess we could get it in writing. We will have a contract signed, yeah, but it's how these operate.
I see we're doing a lot of discussion, so can I make a motion, and then I'll make a motion to approve Eric Hall as a municipal project manager for the sidewalk improvement grant.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, second by Jeff, because Glenn wants to discuss more.
No, I wanted to give our discussion, I wanted to give our discussion some air cover.
Credibility.
Thank you, Glenn.
I see this as the cart before the horse. If we're gonna have a contract, shouldn't we see the contract before we say who's gonna do the work?
But you're saying this is common business practice,
It's, yes.
and
This
we're
is Rutland
we're
Regional.
blowing it up. So I don't know which it is, but we do have a tendency to blow things up.
I mean, it's good discussion.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I understand the concern because it is a lot of money. But no, this is what Rutland Regional does this for not all towns, but it's.
Have you ever
something
had
that
a problem with them before?
I never have.
I think it might be actually a good thing to have a person who's done some of these other
With expertise
projects.
in there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would take a huge, if we had to do it in-house, it
If
would
they're
just be
good.
one more thing.
I haven't vetted this person at all, so.
I-
Do you know anything?
I have met him, and Devin is he's below Devin. What's Devin's last name?
Neary.
Neary.
Oh.
Yeah, he's below Devin Neary in the highway. Yeah.
And I'm all for go at any speed we want. Grants take forever to get them done, so anything we can do to keep the process moving forward. If we don't put a project manager, does that slow, my question, does that slow things down as we go out and say, we wanna see this, and my sense is, yes, it does. That this is a reputable person.
Is he a trained project manager? Or is it just,
You know, I have it there. I should have brought his resume. Shoot.
well, I don't see his resume, but I'd just like to know, does he have project management training?
He does, and they have to be vetted by the state
Oh.
to allow them to even do. You can't just have the guy that lives in the storage container around the corner do this. Yeah.
I've been impressed with how fast they've responded since we applied, got the grant, and they put everything in place. Because I think they got, over there, they have their acts together for this kind of stuff,
Yeah,
is what I've seen.
This is what
That's just me.
And they
part of
have,
their mission is
Yeah.
to support towns.
and they have the staff to do it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And if they don't, they just hire staff. So it's easy for them to scale up.
All right, other questions?
Your recommendation is yes, right?
It is.
That's why it's here, yeah.
That's what
All right, all in favor of the motion?
I,
Any opposed?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Rod, are you a no?
Ron's a no.
I'm an A.
Okay,
Yes,
so
he's
it's
no.
4,
No, he's not. No.
Yes.
oh,
No, he's not.
1.
Audit RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel good about Devin, but I
no, I
Look at the
understand,
contract. I want to see the contract first.
I understand.
I did
Letter-
skip over
letter
that.
to
I had already
agency.
crossed that off.
oh,
So, letter to Agency Secretary Joe.
So do you not sign this?
I don't see.
We'll put you at a no sign over here.
That's okay.
So a representative,
I forgot the letter. I want.
excuse me, Representative Helm reached out both to myself and Glenn. I guess it's been about 3 weeks now. And he's helped us kind of navigate the process for getting the state back on board with helping us get the Adams Street Bridge funded and replaced.
Did he write this letter, or you did?
I think Glenn wrote this, yeah. So he was out.
typos and grammar.
Where are you going with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a comment or two, but I'll wait till you're
Is
finished.
it a good comment or a bad comment?
It's neutral,
Oh,
just
and Glenn wrote it. Mr. Helm had some recommendations, and one of those recommendations was to make sure that we get a letter out to AOT. And I think Glenn, and that's what you have in front of you. Glenn, did you?
Yeah, I mean, just a couple different things. It was get a letter to AOT, but there were a couple other important steps. He said, understand something, because I was talking Adams Street Bridge and also Scotch Hill paving. Critical that our representative on the Transportation Committee at Rutland Regional Planning is there and talking. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Cindy.
I did.
Okay, that they said, because it's another critical part, in order, you have to get put on a priority list, sent to Montpelier to get onto another priority list, and we haven't been getting
On the list.
to go to Montpelier, haven't been showing up, that's why we haven't been getting.
Because they have a 5-year plan and a scoring rubric on how to get on those project lists.
Now, what they're saying is that they have more money than they ever had,
Yep.
and now's the time, because they're gonna expand the number of folks they're considering and all that, so now's the time to go do this.
Okay.
So, good stuff, but also found out that we were looking at the Adams Street Bridge, thinking we needed about, if we get the grant, it's a 10% match. And I said, no, it's because your road is closed and they don't have to worry about putting a temporary one, it's a 5%, not 10%, for that. So, even better yet, and our funding looks like it's there. I did talk to, Bob Richards is our representative, is our commissioner on the planning commission right now, to make sure that, and he said he would, every opportunity he got, he'd be talking the importance of, and how critical Adams Street Bridge is to us.
Oh, gosh, residents would be so happy.
So that's,
It's been a sticky project.
so I took the pass at the letter. Joe did add some things in there, so I like to think it's a group project, Joe.
So then, I just have one thing and I think it's a great letter. There is one little typo I found on the back where it says Fairhaven Select Board. It doesn't have the N on Fairhaven. I want it to be.
Shoot.
But
Oh,
my other suggestion, and it doesn't have to be, so as someone that reads stuff at work for approval, there's nothing in the second paragraph that catches my eye. If it started with the state of Vermont has reviewed this, and because when I first read it, Fairhaven has experienced a significant increase in traffic. It's kind of like, well, who says and how come? But then when you read down, you realize the state is the one who provided this information. So to me, it would be important to start with the state of Vermont has reviewed this, and then work all those points in there, but not, this may be too picky, but not start the paragraph off with something that people would say, well, how come they have significant increase in traffic as their town is dying, and, you know, that kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We can make those changes.
Yeah, I think that would be a stronger statement.
Agreed.
But the rest of it is great. And then for the CCs, I saw that Ed Bove has resigned from the RRPC. I don't know, I thought that was effective fairly soon, so I didn't know if it should have somebody else's name there.
It's effective at the end of the fiscal year.
Fiscal year, which I think is midsummer.
Oh, not for a few months then.
Yeah,
Okay.
They have the same June timeframe.
and then
Okay.
he's not going away, he's gonna stay.
He's gonna be, yeah, but in a different role. Okay,
No, that quote was from the newspaper, so just know where the
yeah,
information came from.
understood.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, when would we even hear the slightest thing
Mm-hmm.
on this? As we move,
I would imagine.
if we move, years?
Years.
Oh, Joe,
Oh, yeah, they're still, when I talk to them
Sorry.
about what's the timing,
yeah,
and they say, the timing on something like this, they always say 3 years, and then we start talking, is your bridge a historical bridge? Because there's extra time in doing the research. Do you have water and sewer lines coming across? Add another
yeah.
extra amount of time. Do you have power lines
Sure.
going across? It gets to 5 years. If
Pretty
it were to
fast.
happen, get on the list. What we're trying to do right now is April is when they put the list together at Rutland Regional Planning and send it to Montpelier. We want to be on that list.
Yeah,
And this letter to
Just the old girders from the.
Secretary of Transportation will hopefully get us to where in front
that's
of
cool.
him to send it to
mhm.
some people to say, we're looking for this.
Okay.
We'll see.
Joe, you'll make those changes.
I mean, considering that as part of 22A, maybe with the new visibility that
With the
22A is
widening 22A and everything, just that 22A is a key.
a hot button right now.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
they're not gonna widen, they're just gonna pave.
No, they're widening it way north of us.
After-
Orwell.
After they pave it completely.
Okay. But not where the accidents
No,
are.
no.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to get that on the record too.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, bring that back when you get your, go change.
But at least they're gonna pave it.
Yes.
Audit, RFP.
I don't know anything about the dates.
And so we released a RFP for Audit Services. We have one response, which is our current auditor, R.H.R. Smith. It's pretty typical, everything that they do, they're saying they're gonna do again. Their cost did go up by $2,000. It was $12,000 and change now, it's $14,500 for the next 3 years. I
So
did,
less than 10%,
yes.
yeah.
I did ask Jenny, her recommendation, and she wholeheartedly recommends RHR.
Did the rate of pay go up, or is there more hours included now?
I think just the rate of everything. I talked a little bit to Josh when he was here, and it's the labor has gone just through the roof for auditing and
And it's a
accounting.
3-year agreement, you said, so
Yep.
probably locking in at that is a good.
They may also be considering that Jenny may not be.
Yeah, true. That's what I figured, that it was more time.
So, this is the only one that's expressed interest in bidding? So far, we're still waiting, or are you looking?
No, the bid is closed.
Are you
This is
looking
it.
for a motion to have them do the audit?
I would need approval to accept this proposal, and then we sign a contract for.
Okay.
And authorize Joe to sign the contract.
Someone, I'm gonna make a motion tonight, someone else on it.
I make a motion to accept this proposal, the RFP, for auditing.
Do we need this policy? Do you need to authorize Joe to sign or not?
Is there a signature sheet?
I don't know.
I mean, we have to authorize Joe to accept it.
Yeah, and there's a contract that pops up annually as part of this, so.
Okay,
I'm
there-
with authorizing Joe, so.
And Joe, you have signed that contract?
Before-
Yeah, since I've been
Yeah, I
here.
believe that was.
Okay.
Yeah. Second.
So motion by Rod to accept the proposal from R.H. Smith and Company for auditing for the next 3 years, and to authorize the town manager to sign the contract.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
And seconded by Jeff, discussion on the motion?
You wanna throw a number in there, like a not to exceed?
Yeah, not to exceed
Yep.
14.5 per year.
Yep.
With a possible additional annual price of single audit at 3,000, not to exceed 3,000. But that has never been required.
Sure.
Is that for, like, a big grant or something?
If we request it,
Oh.
if we had a need to do it, you know, it's not covered. What they're saying is it's not covered under the 14.5.
Right, okay.
Give them a reference.
3,000 for each major program.
ARPA.
For each major,
See the
3,000 for each major.
That's gonna get deep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think that's like the, yeah, it's when
Okay.
you really drill down,
Right.
Other questions on the proposal?
and that's the same, is it?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I heard two numbers. I thought you said that it was for 12,500?
That's what it was.
It was,
That's
Oh,
what
it was that?
14.5.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Thank you.
Salt shed grant?
Yeah.
What are we doing, Joe?
So this has been, like the Adam Street Bridge, another sticky problem for me. Like we talked about in the past, it's with the cost of inflation, our original price estimate would put us at 200,000. The bid that went out was what, 600? Some ridiculous number. I was actually talking to Jeff today, and he gave me some suggestions. He actually sent me a picture of a tarp system. It was something like what, $30,000.
You know, the catalogs that come in the mail, I just
Yeah.
said, why don't you check this out?
Yeah.
And
So-
he did.
Yeah, so I called the company, which is the same company that we've been working with. And they said, same system, same tarp, almost the same product, except the cheaper one does not have a engineering stamp on it. It's not been an engineered building. And that's what's driving this cost apparently. And this is what the salesman had told me.
What salesman? The salesman for the construction?
For the tarp system.
Oh.
So I think we found a way forward. It's gonna make the state mad at me, but
So the only problem with this one is we can't guarantee snow load and, because it's not engineered.
so the state requires
I wanted it out there that was not.
So where the money is coming is the state requires this to be an engineered building. If we do not use state funds, we don't have to worry about the engineered portion of this. We have 2 grants that are funding this. One grant is for $50,952, and that's a private organization. They don't require the stamp. We would have to, I haven't pulled the numbers, we just got this going this afternoon. We could return the state funds, use the grant that we have, the $50,000, almost $51,000, which will bring us, I think, as I crunched the numbers this afternoon, it brought,
38 or something, right?
well, it brought, I think we were at $55,000 for, based on the quote I got today, plus the blocks, and all the connecting pieces. We'd still need to get somebody to put it up. It's just, and that's, I don't know what that looks like yet.
600,000 down to 35.
No, About
It's
100,000.
still gonna end up
Yeah.
being 75 to
Okay.
100. And it's not necessarily the same engineered, right?
Yes.
But what's,
Just that bears saying,
what's the price difference, did you say?
500,000 so far. And you do have to pay, reimburse the grant a little bit, right, for some engineering.
No, so we never, because we were having such trouble, I never drew down from the state grant. So as we sit now, we don't owe the state
We
anything.
don't know.
Okay, all right.
In-
Which is-
in-
I misunderstood that.
So in fact, we'll take, so we have spent $12,000 in engineering. That will be reimbursed by the grant that we have now. That we haven't touched any really grant funds yet.
The $50,000 grant.
Yes.
So you only have 40 something, 38 to 40 in your grant, your private grant. If we were to go this way, it's looking like the town would be on the hook for 20 to 60.
Something, yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I'd have to call construction and see if I can't get an estimate.
Now, our wetland permits are good and everything else, so there's no other,
And this is smaller. This is what, we're talking 40 by 80 or 40 by 100, right?
This was the scaled down, so I asked the gentleman at the company, I said, I need something that is comparable to the scaled down version. You know, our minimum kind of, this is as small as we want to go version. And he sent me a quote with the product we're talking about now.
Well, what's the longevity of this versus what we were first looking at?
He said it was all the same materials. He said that we were concerned that maybe the tarping system was like just a
Right.
flimsier version. He said, no, same stuff. Again, it's just a matter of, it's not that, and I don't know how they can do it, but it's the engineered portion of it.
So with that, is our insurance company gonna insure it if it's not engineered and we have no idea?
Good question.
I can tell you that we've got 2 of those Quonset huts.
Yeah.
One is a monster. It's probably about the same size. It's
Oh, I lost it. It's gonna be like that.
okay. It's basically the same size as what I'm seeing here. It's, well, you guys can come see it. Okay, it's a very thick white vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gone through 2 winters. The fabric is so slick. Snow does not stay on top of it.
Right.
Okay, especially when you're on the blocks. I mean, when it's on the ground, it can pile up from 8 feet down because it'll just keep on piling. But if it's on blocks, only about 2 feet might pile up before it spills off the blocks. It is super slick. You know, we've gone through some windstorms. The only thing we've had a problem with is we lost the doors. This won't have doors.
Right.
It'll just whistle right through.
Or you may do a back wall, I don't know.
What's that?
You might put a back wall on it, I don't know.
Three-sided.
Well,
Or maybe not, maybe just a block wall
I
up
can
and
tell
then
you,
let the
if you
wind
put a
go.
back wall on it,
It will
you get a
just-
windstorm, you will lose it.
you'll lose,
Well, it'd be open on the top.
Just,
6 foot, no.
no, he's
We'll still lose
thinking,
it?
he's thinking run your 3-sided block wall,
Oh, okay.
so you
Yeah,
can
leave
push
it on.
against it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But
but
leave
no,
the
nothing
top.
on the Quonset hut.
No, just
Oh,
down 6 foot
Okay,
tall.
yeah, I'm sorry.
do those costs include taking that mound of milling stuff we've got up by the
Why
pavilion
can't we
and
do
putting that
That
down?
was having our guys do some stuff.
It does not, no. This is just for the actual,
I mean,
No.
This is an incredibly preliminary number that you're
I'd
hearing.
say it's worth
Well-
looking into.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
I would say
all of it looks good. My only point was, figure that we've got it up there, we
Yeah.
thought it was a good idea before, still a good idea, we
It's still a
just
good
wanna
idea.
make sure we figure it in and see what the numbers look like.
yeah, this seems to be the way forward. Otherwise, we would have had to abandon the
This
project.
is using waste blocks from like, Carrera and,
Scrap metal.
Yeah.
And they weren't waste blocks on the original?
no, they
Right,
want us to use some special perfect waste block. It's not a waste block.
It's not a waste block, they're actually poured blocks.
Yes.
That have no defects at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because they're significantly better.
Some more to,
They
All right.
probably are, but you're talking about 80 years of life versus 100 years of life.
Oh,
So Joe, I think
I
you
don't
should
believe
move
it's
forward
on
on
insurance.
one on here.
If you've ever swung one
investigate.
into another one.
I'll break some numbers. We'll dig some more numbers up and see what it looks like.
But Aaron's gotta buy into this, cause if he's doing some of the, his team is doing some of the work, like the millings, piling the millings up.
Yeah.
I think I'd get a quote from Doug or someone to just see what it would be to level that out. You know, I think a dozer would be the,
Dozer would be able to push it up against the
oh, that's true. Maybe we do need the excavator for that, so that's good.
excavator or
Payloader.
payloader. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can do it. But I was thinking more of the flat, to get a really nice flat surface. Maybe
The
maybe we need-
preparation, site prep?
somebody to
Yeah.
come in and just, and then vibratory
Yeah.
roll it, so that you have a nice,
Well, maybe we could start up the grader to make it nice and flat.
you might be able to. Just ask your team what they can and can't do.
Yes.
All right, moving on to the parking
I'm
lot
not sure that
here.
runs.
Keep going.
I said maybe we could start it up.
Anything from the parking lot?
No.
The only, if only a
talked
heads
about
up
it,
that
no?
I'd like to have Munger Road on our agenda next meeting. Want to talk about it while we have this board.
And that fits in with class 4 too.
Yeah, and it goes nicely out with the class 4 that we're gonna be talking about just before, so that's good.
Okay, board roundtable? Everybody? Okay, Jeff, expenditure revenue report, and then.
Paid the payroll warrant $31,672.11.
Second?
Okay, motion by Jeff for the payroll warrant, second by Glenn. Any questions on that? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to pay the general fund warrant, $736,243.41. That go ahead if you want.
Second?
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Glenn for the general fund warrant.
And it includes $625,000 to Naylor and Breen, almost $40,000 to Aldrich and Elliott.
And there was also Blue Cross Blue Shield. And
Yeah, there's a number.
Other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Checkbook status.
$1,897,092.79.
Okay. Executive session?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for personnel with the town manager of 1 VSA 313A4.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Rod for executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.